Greetings and welcome to another episode of Inspire and Inquire. Of course, I'm your girl Regina, and this is week 11. Imagine, almost 3 months. Thank you so much for being a part of this spiritual journey. And this week, I want to look at 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 4 to 6.
No one serving as a soldier gets entangled in civilian affairs, but rather tries to please his commanding officer. Similarly, anyone who competes as an athlete does not receive the victor's crown except by competing according to the rules. The hard-working farmer should be the first to receive a share of the crops.
So initially when I read this section of the Bible, I started to think about just aligning myself with God's words, God's ways, God's will, right? Because if I were a soldier, I shouldn't be taking orders from civilians. I need to be taking orders from the commander, who is God. Likewise, if I am an athlete, if I'm going to be playing to win the crown, the victory, I need to make sure that I'm aligning myself with the rules, with his rules of that game. But it also made me think about people who are subscribed to materialism and capitalism. For instance, if I were an athlete and I was, in that fight to win the actual crown, the material crown, and I'm going to be playing by the rules of that materialistic thinking, to win that materialistic crown. So it made me think that I really need to be careful about what I align myself to based on what I'm actually striving for. Is it something spiritual or is it something material? I think a lot of us get caught up in that battle as we look for growth and development. Also though, the farmer's analogy right at the end really opened up my heart. So the farmer needs to know his seeds. He needs to know the type of seeds he's working with, what environments they're striving, and what expectations the seeds need in order to flourish and grow. Similarly, in a relationship, you need to know your partner's seeds, their core. You need to understand what their needs are, what their expectations are, what environments or actions that you can do that can help them to grow. And the farmer also, he nurtures his crop, right? He's always going back. He's not just planting a seed and waiting for it to grow. He's going back, day in, day out, tweaking what he needs to tweak, taking out the weeds where they grow. And he understands that it takes this day-to-day dedication for those plants to manifest into bountiful glory. Similar to a relationship. A lot of us get in the relationships, and when we start them, we're in it, and then as time goes on, we spend less and less time. But it requires the same thing, a day in, day out dedication of nurturing those crops and spending time with those seeds to see them grow and flourish into something beautiful. Another similarity for me is that a lot of times we forget about the yield and enjoying the yield in the end. Some of us get stuck in the relationship as just the giver. The other person might be just the taker. And it really has to be balanced so that you're giving and you're also receiving. You're also receiving that yield of what you've put all that hard work into. Not just giving, but taking as well is a part of that process. And it's a beautiful thing when you can do both. Another aspect of the farmer is his expectations. I think that this one really stands out because, if you think about society today, the expectations are so different. A farmer has to produce 5 billion tomatoes in 2 weeks, and he can't unless he's using some chemical altering drugs, which then turn into unhealthy and dangerous food. So he's fulfilling the expectations, but at what cost? And I think in a relationship, when you have such high expectations and your partner is unable to fulfill them, it can start to cause toxins in the relationship. The relationship might continue to grow, but what are those injections of, unnatural chemicals and toxins that you're throwing in to make those expectations a reality? And then finally, just supply for others. The farmer's mindset is to supply crop for himself, his family, the community around him. And I think if you look at your relationship like that as well, you start to not just build something together for you and your immediate family, but something for the world to recognize, setting an example for others to strive towards, to see what a beautiful relationship can look like. So the activity for this week would be to align yourself with the foremost attributes, with your relationships, and see if you can be able to cultivate, or it can help you to cultivate relationships that are long-standing and strong and built on, truth and patience and love. And hopefully, those relationships will help to make you grow as a person, and then the world around you can also see that as an example and start to grow as well. You be the change that you want to see in the world kind of vibe. That's all I have for you this week. I am looking forward to seeing you next week though. All the glory to God. Inspire and Inquire. Bye.